What is up, folks? This is Anthony with the VR Game Rankings YouTube channel, and you guys are tuned in to the daily vlog series. This, of course, is a daily VR news and discussion show Monday through Friday. Today is Tuesday, February 20th. This is episode 102. I have a handful of news stories to dive into. I also have Apex Construct first impressions. Yes, Apex Construct available today on PlayStation VR for $30 by Fast Travel Games. I will be talking about that shortly. Also have a handful of news stories. But before we get into either of that, I wanted to talk about a thread that I saw on the NeoGAF forums. Now, one of the issues that we're dealing with in the VR gaming industry, in VR in general, is there are a number of issues that VR is dealing with in terms of mass adoption of the technology. And it's always interesting to see what issues are causing other people to hesitate on jumping into VR. And so I was on NeoGAF yesterday. I saw an interesting thread title, and I thought, this could be a somewhat interesting story to get into on the daily vlog as a possible topic. And so basically the title of this thread that I saw on NeoGAF was anyone else not picking up VR due to kids. And I thought, that's interesting. Let me see what this guy is talking about. So I went ahead and clicked on the thread, and I'm going to go ahead and read you the opening post for the guy that posted this thread. This is basically what he was saying about his hesitation in picking up a VR headset because of the fact that he has kids. So here's what he had to say. I'm interested in VR, but I have 3 young kids. Oldest is 5. PSVR states no child under 12 should use it. They're kids, though. Of course they'd want to use it. It's like stating Easter eggs are only for adults. It's not going to fly. So the age restriction basically means I cannot purchase the product, or I will have a decade of fighting with them over it, over why they can't try it. Anyone else in the same boat? And he also says, here's hoping PSVR 2 lowers the age requirement. So this is an interesting take, something I haven't really considered too much, because in my personal situation, I do have 2 boys. However, they are teenagers at this point. And when I got my HTC Vive, which was April 2016, late April is when I actually got my HTC Vive. My youngest son at that time had just barely turned 13 years old, but he was past that 12-year-old mark, so I didn't really worry about it. But this is something that you will read in various pamphlets for, say, the Oculus Rift or the HTC Vive or PlayStation VR. Usually you will see these warnings where it is not advised that you put children under the age of 12 into VR headsets. Now, the thing is, we've looked into this a little bit more closely, and the truth of the matter is there really isn't any data that would suggest that it is legitimately dangerous to put your kids into a VR headset. This is more of a case of all of the various manufacturers taking the high road and the better safe than sorry idea, basically saying, look, we know that when children are at the age of 12, I think it has something to do with like the eye muscles and the way your eyes are it's how you're growing. When you get to the age of 12, basically your eyes are pretty much done growing. The muscles and everything about your eyes is pretty much locked in by the age of 12. So the idea is that once you hit 12, you're good to go. You can use these VR headsets and there's no concerns. If you're a lot younger than 12, well, you still have eye muscles that are developing. And so that's kind of where the worry is, even though there's no information to suggest that there's anything to worry about. So that's what's out there. And you have to understand that if you have a Nintendo 3DS, it is the same exact situation. If you look at the pamphlets that Nintendo has in regards to the Nintendo 3DS, if you bought a 3D Blu-ray player and you're going to rent or you're going to buy a 3D Blu-ray movie, it's the same situation. All of these things will advise not to have children under the age of 12 using this type of stuff, and I think it has to do with the eye muscles. But here's the thing. How many of us have gone to a 3D movie in the movie theaters? I know 3D isn't what it used to be. A number of years ago, 3D was like this big deal, and every time you went and saw a big movie, you had to decide, am I going to see it in 3D? Am I going to see it in 2D? Well, I've been in plenty of 3D movies, and you see 7-year-olds and 5-year-olds and kids of all ages that are wearing these 3D glasses. Of course, that is for more of a short period of time. It's different when you have a VR headset in your home or a 3D Blu-ray player in your home or a Nintendo 3DS or any of these types of things. Then the consideration becomes a little bit different. But I was just curious, is anybody else out there in this same type of boat? Do you worry for your young children? Is this a concern? Do you have kids that are really, really young? Do you keep VR away from them? Do you let them play it unlimited amount of hours? How do you kind of go about this? I'm kind of curious about that, but just thought I would bring that up. You know, VR does have a lot of issues. This is another issue. You know, all of these different issues weigh into it in terms of mass VR adoption. Just thought that was slightly interesting. Okay, let's go to our first regular news story of the day. And the first news story of the day, we've been talking about these PlayStation VR bundles, and there are deals that are going on. It started on Sunday, on February 18th, and it runs until March 3rd. There are deals on all sorts of PlayStation VR bundles, but you know what? There is another deal that is going on. If you were interested in grabbing the Skyrim VR bundle, which is a pretty good bundle because you're getting probably the best VR game on PlayStation VR, bar none, in Skyrim VR. You are getting 2 brand new Move controllers that are being thrown in as well. Of course, you get the camera, you get the headset, and this is the new and updated version of the headset. So it's a pretty nice bundle, but it is $349.99, which I believe is discounted, but that doesn't seem like that huge of a discount. That still seems pretty damn expensive. Well, here's the thing. If you're in the USA, you can go to Dell's website, and Dell has a deal right now on this Skyrim bundle. This is available for a limited time, so you might want to snap this up pretty quickly if you're interested in this. But what Dell has going on is you go ahead, you buy the Skyrim bundle at the standard price of $349.99, which I believe is the sale price right now. You go ahead and grab that, and then within the next 20 days, Dell will send you a $100 gift card for Dell. Now, there are some situations that you have to concern yourself with this Dell gift card. First of all, you do have to wait up to 20 days to possibly receive it, but even more critical is the fact that this Dell gift card only lasts for 90 days. It expires in 90 days, so you have to use it relatively quickly. Now, I am in the state of California, and when I saw this, I could have sworn that California had a law where gift cards don't expire in the state of California. I remember hearing it on the news or something that this was a new thing, that gift cards simply do not expire in the state of California, regardless of what any of these retailers will tell you. And so I looked at this Dell deal, and I went down to the very bottom and I read the fine print. And when it talks about the gift card expiring within this 90-day period, it says except where prohibited by law. So if you happen to live in California, or you happen to live in another state that has adopted a similar gift card law, then you don't have to worry about this 90-day thing. But you might want to check up on that, because the thing about Dell, they don't carry everything under the sun like Amazon. If Amazon was having this deal and you got a $100 Amazon gift card, be quite a bit better, because you could buy pretty much anything from Amazon. But Dell is a little bit limited. Dell is great if you're looking to buy, say, a laptop, or you're looking to buy a desktop computer, or you need maybe a new monitor, or you're looking for, say, a gaming headset or something like that. Dell has a lot of products that are in this kind of category, but they don't have everything under the sun. So definitely be aware of that if you go ahead and jump on that Skyrim deal. But it's still a pretty good deal. Now, Speaking of various PlayStation VR deals, there's another great deal, but unfortunately, this is only good for people that live in Florida and Georgia. So I don't know how huge my audience is in the states of Florida and Georgia, but I thought I would throw this out there as a public service announcement anyway. So there is a retail location called BrandsMart USA. Now, I've heard this retailer mentioned a number of times on various forums for having these really good deals, but I've never seen a BrandsMart USA. I didn't know if that was like an East Coast thing or what it was. So I went to the website, I checked it out, and they only have about 8 locations in the entire nation, 6 of which are in Florida and the other 2 are in Georgia. So there's not a ton of these BrandsMart locations. But why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because they have the PlayStation VR Core unit for $149.99. This is the lowest I've ever seen a PlayStation VR headset go for, brand new, $150. So if you are in Florida, if you are in Georgia and you have a PlayStation 4, this is a wonderful opportunity. Make sure run down to that BrandsMart location that is hopefully near you. Hopefully they still have some in stock. This is in store only, and maybe go ahead and grab yourself a PSVR Core unit at the lowest price I've ever seen it as far as I'm concerned. Okay, now I want to go ahead and get into my first impressions on Apex Construct by Fast Travel Games. This game is available today for PlayStation VR. It comes out on March 20th for Oculus Rift players and HTC Vive players. So there is this temporary exclusivity window. Now, we've seen this with a number of games. We've seen this with Archangel. It hit PlayStation VR for a little while before it hit anywhere else. Same thing happened with Spark. We tend to see this every once in a while. It's probably some type of co-marketing deal that Sony works out with a lot of these developers, where Sony will kind of help with some co-marketing costs to get a little bit of an exclusivity window. And so it's kind of like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back type of thing. And so Apex Construct, it is available right now. Now, what I do want to say before I get into this discussion, I want to make myself perfectly clear. Number one, this is not a review. This is my first impressions. And I haven't played this game a ton. I put about an hour and 20 minutes into this game yesterday, but it wasn't an hour and 20 minutes where I started the game and played for a full 1 hour and 20 minutes. What I did was I played for about 40 minutes. I stopped, went back in and played it some more, but I actually started over. So I'm not that far. I've only made it to basically the second level of the game. So I've gotten to the second level. That's where I'm at in this game. This is just first impressions, but I do want to give you guys my take on Apex Construct up until this point in time. Now, I thought maybe we would try this a little bit of a different way. So what I've decided to do is we're going to do a little pro versus cons debate on Apex Construct. So how this is going to work is I'm going to go over what I think is the biggest pro for the game, and I'm going to talk about the biggest con for the game, and then we'll kind of work our way through and kind of get a feel for Apex Construct, looking at the best aspects and the worst aspects of what I've seen so far. So we might as well go ahead and start on the bright side, and let's start with the biggest pro for this game. And I would say the biggest pro, without question, is the fact that this game legitimately does have a story that is going on throughout the game. And so Fast Travel Games, I don't believe this is a huge developer with hundreds of employees that work for the company. I don't know exactly how many employees they have. I believe they are based in Sweden, and but I don't know how big this developer is. But they have made a serious attempt here at trying to have an interesting kind of sci-fi style story. I said before, I've mentioned that this game does remind me a little bit of Horizon Zero Dawn, or I forget the name of the game, Horizon Zero Dawn. I think that's what it is. Yeah. It reminds me of that a little bit. And the story does kind of have that flavor to it. Something has happened to this world. Some great shift has taken place that has really disrupted this world, and most of humanity is gone, and you do have some robots that are roaming around. You also have these two different artificial intelligences that are kind of against each other, and that's kind of the backdrop of the story. And you're placed in this environment. You don't really know what's going on. You're trying to figure out what is going on here, and so it's kind of this exploratory thing. The story unravels, and basically the biggest benefit of this entire game is that it legitimately does have a story. Now, is the story the greatest thing in the world? Maybe not, but they are at least trying to have a story. We've seen a ton of VR games that don't even attempt any kind, they have a quick little 1-minute story and that's it. This game is really intertwining the story into the entire gameplay experience. So I definitely put that down as the biggest pro. Now, what is the biggest con? What is the biggest negative issue with the game? For me, I would have to say it's the controls. Now, here's the thing. I have some really good things to say about the control scheme that Fast Travel Games is using for this game, but as I was playing it yesterday, I continued to struggle with the controls throughout the entire time that I was playing this game. So let me kind of give you a basic on how the controls work in this game. So when you first get into the game, you're mostly using teleport. Now, this game does require 2 move controllers. You cannot play this game with a DualShock 4 as far as I can tell. So you do need to have move controllers to be able to play this. And the way it works is you have your left move controller, you have your right move controller, and what they did is the square button on your left move controller, that activates the teleport. And so you hit the square button and an arrow pops up and it lands on the ground, and that kind of shows you where you would teleport. You hold it down, you move it around, you let go, boom, you teleport right there. It's the standard teleport that we've seen a million times. Later, once you've gotten into the game a little bit farther and you can actually access the in-game menu, then you can go into settings and you can turn on free locomotion. Actually, I think you could do this before you ever even started the game, but I immediately started the game, didn't go into settings. So I would advise everybody, actually, before you start Apex Predator, click on settings and turn on free locomotion, because you might as well have it there as well. One of the nice things about this game is you get the option of free locomotion and teleport. It's not one or the other. You're going to use both of them in different situations, and that's the way I like it. I think all developers should do this. Don't give us options of one or the other. Let us do all of it. I play a lot of games where I'm mostly using the free locomotion, but every once in a while you activate teleport when it makes sense. That's a great way to do it. So everything kind of sounds good. They got they got teleport, they got free locomotion, they got snap turning. Where's the problem? I'll tell you where the problem is. The problem for me is with the snap turning, okay? Because the thing about PlayStation VR is you're playing the game, the camera is there, you got to stay in front of the camera. If you start getting turned all around in different locations, you're not going to be tracked very well, and your experience is going to start to deteriorate. Your experience is going to start to deteriorate very, very quickly. And so snap turning in PSVR games is absolutely mission critical, in my opinion, because when you have good snap turning, it allows you to basically plant your feet in one specific spot in front of the camera, and you don't really have to move very much. You got your free locomotion, you got teleport, and then you got your snap turning. It allows you to go anywhere and do anything. The problem with Apex Construct is I could never quite get the hang of the snap turning. Now, what it tells you to do is with your right controller, you're supposed to hit the triangle button and kind of flick your wrist. You hit the triangle button, you hit that triangle button and you flick your wrist at the same time, and then you do a snap turn. And if you flick your wrist that way, you snap turn that way. You flick your wrist this way, you snap turn that way. And you can go into the settings and you can adjust the snap turning. You can put it on 30 degrees. You can put it on 45 degrees. You could put it on 90 degrees. However, here's the problem that I had. Okay, let's say, for example, that I'm facing in this direction. Now, there is a staircase over that way that I want to climb up. Well, what I want to do is I want to snap turn real quick, so that I'm facing the staircase, and then I can use my natural locomotion, which you just hit the move button and you move forward, and I could just move to that staircase. That's the way I would like to do it. And so I'm trying to flick, I'm trying to use this arrow thing, and I'm trying to flick so I can get over there towards the staircase. But what I seem to experience when I've been playing this game is I do this snap turning, and it turns me all the way around like 180 degrees. It's like flopping me over there, and I'm like, no, the staircase is over there. I'm trying to get to the staircase. You just flop me back this way. Why is it doing this? Now, every once in a while, I do the snap turning, and it actually works, and it only does a little 30-degree movement, and then it's like, oh, okay, that time it worked. But I can't seem to figure out how to do it consistently, so I'm not sure what the deal is with the snap turning. If anybody else is playing Apex Construct on your PSVR, I'm curious to see, are you having a problem with the snap turning? But I definitely put the controls down as the biggest bugaboo of this game, because there are so many little controls that you're trying to remember in this game. It uses a lot of different buttons. It's using the 2 different move controllers, and teleport is only on the left side. Snap turning is only on the right side. So you have to kind of remember this. One of the things that I would recommend, some of us like to bounce around from this VR game to that VR game to this VR game to that VR game. I do not advise doing this with Apex Construct. This is about a 5-hour game, according to the developer, 5 to 6 hours, depending on whether you like to sniff the flowers or whether you just plow through the game, somewhere in that kind of a length. I say just play this game from beginning to end, stick with Apex Construct, because if you start switching out to other games, you come back to Apex Construct, you're going to be like, oh man, what are all the controls again? It's going to be a little bit difficult, so I would consider that. Okay, let's go to the second biggest pro. What is the second biggest pro? I say color. This game is colorful. This game is bright. It's pretty cheerful. I am playing this game on a PlayStation 4 Pro. The developer did advise me to play it on a PS4 Pro if I had that option available. The resolution is a little bit better. Everything is a little bit sharper and cleaner, but it has these nice, bright, vivid colors, which is really nice, because so many games you get into, they're going for that absolute realism. Everything is a different shade of brown and beige, and it's all these realistic earth tones. And this is much more bright and vibrant and colorful, which I personally like this. Now, some people might think it's a turnoff because it kind of negates that realism factor, but I like the bright, colorful world that they've brought to the table here. What is the second biggest con? I'm actually going to call out the voice acting. Okay, so early on in this game, I've basically experienced 2 voices primarily. There is an AI, an artificial intelligence, that you're dealing with in the very beginning of the game. The AI is called Father. And so you will just hear this guy speaking. I don't know how he's speaking to you, like the voice of God or whatever. You just hear this guy talking. And the voice work is not terrible on this guy, but it's not great either. In fact, I kind of, as I was playing the game, I was like fighting myself, like, do I like this voice work? Do I not like the voice work of this AI guy, Father? And ultimately, in the end, I kind of got disappointed in the voice work of this guy. To me, he kind of sounds like somebody that's imitating Mark Hamill, doing kind of a grovelly kind of a voice. I don't know, that's what I got from the voice work. Didn't think it was that great, to be completely honest with you, but it really wasn't his voice that really bothered me. Okay, the other voice that you hear early on in the game is, as you're exploring this story, you understand that there's other people that have been here before you, and they've kind of gone through the same situation that you're going through. They're dealing with this AI father. They're having to battle some of these enemies, and they're in this new world. They don't know what the hell is going on. Blah, 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 blah. Well, there's this one lady that has done all of this before you, and you get to certain computer terminals, you'll hear her voice. And a couple of times I heard her, she did pretty good voice work. I thought it was okay. I didn't really notice anything particular about it. But one terminal, I got to it and I heard some voice work, and it was just absolutely awful. It literally sounded like the developers said, okay, you know what, go grab somebody walking down the street, pull them in, grab a female that is in her 20s, pull her up in here. Let's record her do some line. Let's record her saying some lines, and that's it. It sounds like they grabbed somebody off the street. So the voice work of this female, at least this is one terminal that I happened to go to, I thought it was very uninspired. And see, that's the problem, is when you're trying to build this really incredible story, or you're going for an incredible story. Don't know if they're really achieving that, but then the voice work kind of lets it down. So that is a concern there. I would say that is the second biggest con. Okay, what is the third biggest pro? The third biggest pro to this game is there are a lot of objects to interact with, and there is solid hand presence in this game, considering it's a PlayStation VR game. When you get into this game, you have both of your hands. This does require Move controllers. There's doors to open. There's cabinets to open. You can open them up. You can close them. There's things to pick up off the tables and examine. And your hands are in the game, and your hands look pretty damn good. This is something I always look at any VR game where they give you some type of realistic hands or whatever. I like putting them close to my face and kind of looking at them and see how they work. Now, the problem with PlayStation VR, though, you start moving your hands up here, and then the world starts wobbling. And the reason that the world starts wobbling when you do this is because you get your hands up here, you're blocking the lights on your PSVR camera. That's one of the issues that PSVR has. So as long as you keep your hands down here, you won't have that wobbling situation, and the clarity is pretty damn good. You're picking up a lot of items in this world. For example, I picked up a wrench. Looked at the wrench. The wrench is shiny, it's clean, it's crisp, looks really good. So I do like that. I am on PSVR Pro, so that might have that might have something to do with how clear everything is. It does look pretty clear and sharp. But one of the things that I liked about it from the hand presence and interacting with all these different objects is it kind of felt like I was playing an HTC Vive game or an Oculus Rift game. This didn't really seem like a PlayStation VR game. It's almost like they're being very aggressive in what they're trying to get away with here with all the different things that you can interact with. The only downside to that is it's really tempting to start turning your body around and thinking that you're in room scale, especially if you happen to also own an Oculus Rift or an HTC Vive and you're used to room scale. You can almost feel like, oh, this is room scale. You start turning around, and then now it's saying face your cameras. And so, you start to forget, oh yeah, I'm on a PlayStation 4. What's the biggest negative? The third biggest negative to the game. So I would say the third biggest negative is that in the early portion of this game, there's not a ton of action going on. I've had very limited combat so far. I've killed a handful of these different robots. It's mostly been almost like a point and click adventure, kind of exploring the world, a little bit like Robinson the Journey, kind of early on in this game, a little bit of that vibe. There is combat, of course. There is these bow mechanics, and you do have like an in-game menu system. You can pick things up and store it in your menu, and your in-game menu is really nice. You hit the menu, you can bring it up, you can move it all around, you put stuff in your menu, in your storage. It works out pretty well. So that did work out pretty good. So anyway, we're running pretty long here, so I need to wrap this up. I didn't mean to spend so much time on Apex Construct, but I think this is a relatively good discussion on the game, so hopefully that'll be good. So what is my overall conclusion at this point? Again, first impressions, only spent a little bit over an hour in this game, barely scratched the surface. But if a good buddy called me up and said, hey, Anthony, give me the raw deal. Should I spend $30 on Apex Construct? I'm tempted. I want to buy it right now. Should I buy it? Yes or no? Honestly, if I'm going to be completely honest, at this point in time, I would actually say no. If this game was $20, I would say yes. This game is $30, I'm going to say no. And, $10. What is $10? Well, basically, it's just, I kind of have a feeling where if I spend $20 and the game isn't the greatest thing in the world, it's not that big of a deal. It's $19.99. It's a $20 game. There's a lot of games like that. It can be a pretty good game. It can have some issues. Everything's good. When you start to get into the $29.99 range and higher, I think it has to come a little bit stronger. And so far, what I've experienced with Apex Construct, I would say the game is not bad. This is not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. I'm enjoying myself. I'm going to continue to play this game, but it does have enough stuff holding it down. I think the voice acting is holding it down. I think the controls are very complicated. And really, honestly, what it really comes down to me is the snap turning. If I could get my snap turning to work perfectly, it would make this game exponentially better for me, because my entire play session with this game, I was constantly fiddling with this snap turning, and I constantly felt like I was not in the right spot. Even though I have free locomotion, even though I had teleport, if I cannot get my body faced where I want it to go very quickly, it's an irritant. It bothers me. And there's other PSVR games that do snap turning absolutely perfectly. And this one, I don't know. Am I doing something wrong? You guys tell me. Anybody else out there that is playing Apex Construct on PSVR, let me know what you guys think. But basically, that is my early take on Apex Construct for PlayStation VR. And I know that I've run super long with this episode, but I wanted to give you guys a detailed breakdown of this game so far. Hopefully, that's a detailed breakdown of what I played so far. I definitely will have more takes on this game in the coming days. And of course, more news stories. Sorry we didn't get to too much news. I really blew this whole show on Apex Construct, but sometimes this is the way things happen. But basically, guys, that's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up for episode 102 of our daily vlog. Of course, today was Tuesday, February 20th, and I will see everybody tomorrow on Wednesday. So have a wonderful Tuesday, everybody. See you guys tomorrow. Take it easy. Later.